Hey everyone, it's Matt, aka Hustlin' Higgins here, and today we're going to talk about my past year. How this year has been absolutely one of the most life-changing years for me. And what I mean by that is it's the year that everything has finally seemed to kind of turn from that downswing back to that upswing. So I'm just going to give you a little timeline of what went on this year, a basic overview, and then we'll kind of break down and talk about how this kind of correlates over, across the board. And so let's start out. Beginning of the year, I was under contract working on selling my home. Larger home than what I am, where I am now. And so that went through, running some things. I think that finally wound up closing around in the end of March. About that same time, around February, is actually when I made the decision to go full-time with my landscaping company. I'd been doing this part-time for 2 years, been really working up a client base, and that's around that time frame is when I decided to finally take the leap of faith and go for that. And so in this meantime, me and my girlfriend had actually moved into a family member of hers home for about a month or so, just kind of floating as we got everything moved over and started the remodeling on the place we're at now. And this place here, it's we got in a great house. I love this house, and probably spent I'd say about 2 months on a pretty hard remodel. I'm a big DIYer. I don't like to pay for other services. I like to learn every trade I possibly can and try to do it the best I can and save money and bite the bullet and do the work. But so we done that, and now, of course, it's middle of November, November 17th, 2020, the dreaded 2020 year. Kind of progressed through, picked up, business really picked up this year, and I can't be more thankful. But another thing big I done this year, I've always liked investing. It would always be little here and there things, but this year I've gotten to stocks, and stocks are something that honestly scared me. It's weird to say, I'm such a studious type person, but stocks were something I always looked on the outside and was like, I really don't know nothing about that, and I'm afraid to, it just felt like a complete gamble to me. Hey, I'm gonna throw my money in here and tie it up for all this time, and I don't know what I'm doing. Who knows if I'm gonna make more money, if I'm gonna lose money, what? But anyways, I'm gonna say it's probably 3 months ago or so. A really close friend of mine come up to me. He's like, "Hey man, I got into this Robinhood thing. Finally just bought a little bit of stocks in. I got a friend of mine that's kind of guided me along the process a little bit as far as getting started. He's like, you should try it out." I'm like, I got a little big, expendable money. Just if I lose this, I'll lose it. It's okay. This ain't gonna make or break me. So I started to count, and I ended up loving it. I really got into this, and I mentioned earlier, I'm a studious type person. I was like, this is a lot. The more I began to understand of the stock market as a whole, I was like, you can make some money doing this. You really can make some long-term money. Retirement, it's there. It's there to be made. But with that being said, you got to study these things. Anytime you're looking to invest in anything, you have to study. The more you study something, the better you are. It's kind of that whole thing of who you keep around you and what you read and what you do. It's all gonna, it's all gonna affect your life, and hopefully in a positive way. Hopefully this video is doing. But we're so okay, let's backtrack to the whole going full time with the lawn care business. I am king of the hustle. Or should I say jack of all trades, master of none, because I have tried many different side hustles over the past few years, and some did okay, some tanked. You know, I think I had a lot of potential with a few of them, and before I go any farther, let me say they all added something to my life. That's another thing. Like, whether it's putting a lot of dollars in your pocket or you were losing money, you should be able to take away from any experience at least one thing positive. And you really have to pull in that perspective of, you know, pushing that negative to the side and looking for the good that's in every scenario, whether it seems good or bad on the outside looking in. But anyways, so made that leap. And one more thing. Another reason I'd like to say why my side hustles never really had taken off as well as I would have hoped. And like I say, that there was a couple that done me extremely good, like making money outside of my, you know, full-time job. But the reason they never took off was commitment issues. Like, I didn't want to put the work in. Wow, who would have guessed that it didn't work if I wasn't putting the work in? But, like, I spent a lot of time, I was working a lot of hours doing that, but I was spreading myself so thin, and I just wasn't putting that concentration on that one thing to grow that and grow that and grow that. Well, the landscaping business was different, and I originally started it just to be like, hey, I'm going to be a mow and blow guy, like, you know, want to cut a yard here and there. Like, it'll be fun. Like, I'll make a few extra dollars. Like, I like outside. I like cutting grass. Yeah, it's cool. Well, turned out I really liked it. And turned out I wanted more of it. And so I was like, I'm really going to take my time. Like, I'm going to do good bookkeeping. I'm going to take my time on this. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to study this trade. I'm going to see how to get better. I'm going to see how to lay down better cuts. I'm going to see the proper way to trim shrubs, the proper way to trim trees, like what grows in this climate, what's going to grow, you know, better here, what's going to grow better in this shade, like, you know, just little here and there things, and design work and stuff like that. And like really like delving myself into this, like it gave me a different outlook. It really gave me a different outlook, and I can't stress this enough. Like, the more you put yourself into something, and the more intriguing it becomes to you. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect starting out. Just give it time. Just find something that's enjoyable to you and take your time to learn it. Like, just go for it. Like, what are you losing? Nothing but time not doing it. That's exactly what you're losing. But just I found that, and I went full time, and this was a stressful time. But at the same time, we're moving from a house, a transition into another house for a month, then trying to move into another house that we're remodeling. I'm trying to grow a brand new business, and outside of, you know, here and there stuff that is going on, and the fact we're in the middle of 2020, but we I found that the more I put into it, the more I was getting back out of it. Like, cut and dry, as simple as it could be. And so I done that, and I budgeted. I'm weird. I love budgets, but I hate following guidelines. So I'm the type of person that'll write a budget down like every 3 or 4 months, look at it for about a week, just kind of drill it in my head of like, these are the outlines of what I need to follow, and then I won't look at it until I make the next one 3 months from now, 3 or 4 months from now. But that's what works for me. Like, if you're the type of person that needs to reassess a budget every day, like, by all means, please do it, because budgets are important. It's just all in what works best for you as far as how you need to follow them. But so I'd budgeted out the amount of money that I felt was necessary to do the remodel for what I wanted to remodel in this home, and set out, accomplished that. Really happy with how everything turned out. Maybe down the road might give you a little tour. It's not a big place, but it's home for sure. And so kind of transitioned into that. And the biggest thing about this, more than anything, was it was done out of pocket. All that I had been busting my ass for over these past few years, when I finally wanted to cash out on the equity and take all the stress off of me, I luckily got an extremely good deal on this home. And then I had the money set back to do the remodel. And so right now I'm sitting here talking to you mortgage free, and it is great. Like, it is very, very relieving to make my own schedule, to not have to worry about, that next bill I have to pay. I could probably take some of that money and go buy a new hat, because this work hat here is about done for. It's one thing about working in the dirt. You don't worry about updating those work clothes too much. But anyways, so got through all that, had budgeted that out, and I highly recommend always keeping a little bit of a bump, as far as keep a little stash back. You want to keep, even if you have assets, which don't over asset, live free. But even if you have a little bit, you want to have I like to say 15-20% cash, as far as through your accounts, have some cash on you. So first of all, if an emergency comes up, your fridge goes out or AC unit goes out, you're not over here stressing because this next paycheck ain't gonna cover it. Get a little bit set out before you do anything. And after you kind of get set up and you got that cushion, I highly recommend finding a savings plan. The more you can save, the faster you get to where you want to go. And it's yeah, I want to go out, I want to do this, I want to do that. For me, eating out's my one thing that I've always struggled to overcome, and it really is. But it's always a work to find where you can allow yourself this amount of money and where you can't. And so you have to come to terms with knowing where you really need to pull yourself back at. But I try to save about 50-60%, and that's where most of my investments are going back into stocks at the moment. And I have a couple other little investment projects on the side as well, but stocks are just a brokerage account's my main savings account, basically, retirement plan. And the more you can funnel into that, that's the power of compound interest. It's a snowball effect. And if you don't really understand compound interest, I highly suggest you go and just play around with some calculators online. Just type in random numbers, see what happens. It is amazing, how fast something can grow with compound interest, which is the power of the stock market. That's so many people, use that as a retirement plan. But so got into that. I'll say I was saving probably around 60% and just funneling every bit into that. I had funneling most of it in my Robinhood account. I did open a Fidelity account, and just for my OTC trades, I have one Canadian stock that really drew me in. That's the actual original reason I opened my Fidelity account. But I mainly use Robinhood. I love both. I absolutely love both platforms, both brokerages, and I would highly recommend both of them. But outside of that, it's just a little bit of overview of what's been going on. It's so hard to crank down videos into smaller time frames. That is something I'm trying to learn, and I'm by no means a great video editor. I'm not tech savvy. I'm learning. Everything's a learning process. I love the process. I love to learn. I love to study. I love to get better. And I hope I can look back at this 2 years from now and be like, what was this kid doing? But, you know, as I get better at this, I'm going to find ways to bring better content to you and to, I don't know, like we're going to take this journey together. Like, as I kind of fill you in and get you up to date on what's been going on in my life, then we'll start talking on investment strategies. We'll start talking on good ways to save your money. We'll start talking on like how much money it actually takes to retire, because that's a argued thing. Like for me, I'm looking at about 1.5 to 1.75 mil for my retirement. Like I feel like that's when I can fully be like, all right, I'm out. I'm gone. This is where I want to be at, which is a long way away, by the way. But like we'll talk about, like, kind of break down some of that, and we'll just discuss life things, like, you know, what's going on, like mental health. Like we really are going to have some mental health videos, because mental health is a big thing. I mean, if you're not happy, where's your life going? Like, God, that sounds kind of dark. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, happiness is a big thing. Like, really, we need to put more focus on mental health, whether that's through building physical health, through building less financial stress, which is two main things that I focus on, you know, or some other routes we'll dive in.